More news now from Suffolk, Essex and from Norfolk. Lecturers at Suffolk New College in Ipswich have gone on strike in a dispute over pay. About 80% of them walked out today because they claim a pay scale agreed in 2004 hasn't yet been implemented. Members of the University and College Union say they're being paid about £4,000 less than colleagues working at other universities.
The students deserve the best, the college deserves the best. We don't want to be losing people down the road to another college. And if Ipswich want to keep the best lecturers, they've got to pay the money.
The new Chief Constable of Essex has pledged his force will come down strongly on people who break antisocial laws. Jim Barker Mccardle took up his post 3 weeks ago. The Chief Constable, who was born in Southend, was talking publicly for the first time since starting the job.
We'll do all we can to encourage people to behave better. But we are the blue team, we are the primary law enforcement agency, and there are some people who clearly need to be in front of the beacon, in front of the magistrate, and if that's their career ambition, to end up in court with heavy penalties, then I'll be delighted to please them with that outcome.
And Suffolk Police have announced a shake-up in the way they respond to emergency calls. Project Response, which will start in the spring, will see the number of bases where officers are briefed cut from 23 to 9. It's led to fears that some rural areas will be more neglected, but the police insist the number of officers will not decrease, and the new project will allow them to respond more quickly.
What we're doing now, and using technology like automatic vehicle location systems, is actually identifying the nearest car and sending that to the incident. And in terms of the patrol areas, it isn't dissimilar to what's happened with the ambulance service, where the ambulance people tend not to work from fixed bases, but actually to go out and patrol where the demand is, or be where the demand is.
Work has begun on a new health centre in Essex. The centre, based at the Sainsbury's supermarket in Chelmsford, will be one of the first in the country to provide access to a GP around the clock, and patients won't have to make appointments to see a doctor or a nurse.
Well, there are a number of things that set it apart from other health centres in the area, and indeed in the country. It will be, to our knowledge, the first 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week GP-led health centre. So that means that you can get access to a GP or a nurse at this centre 24 hours a day.
More than 70 people were forced to leave work today because of a chemical leak in Great Yarmouth.
Several businesses had to be evacuated when a lorry delivering liquid carbon dioxide began leaking. Malcolm Robertson reports.
This was a major turnout by the emergency services for what, on the face of it, appeared a relatively minor incident. Several businesses on a Great Yarmouth industrial estate were evacuated when carbon dioxide was discovered leaking from a lorry.
The lady from next door ran in and just basically shouted, "You've got to get out." They're all evacuating the building. 40
firefighters, including those from Norfolk's Chemical Incident Unit, were involved in this afternoon's drama. Fire chiefs took the decision that those working nearby should be moved. In sufficient quantities, CO2 can be an asphyxiant that could cause breathing problems.
The risk was very, very minimal, but with the three services working together, its disruption, I'm afraid, is obviously going to be a little bit extensive this afternoon.
High-pressure jets of water were used to help dilute the carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. It's indeed ironic that there should be such a big turnout by the fire service to deal with an incident where carbon dioxide was being delivered to refill fire extinguishers. The 15-ton tanker was delivering to Flameskill, a firm that provides and services extinguishers.
Whenever there's any possibility of the danger to the public, you have to err on the side of safety. So, yes, it does seem a bit of a sledgehammer to crack a nut, but I think they're taking the right measures.
Later this afternoon, the road reopened and people were given the all-clear to return to work. Malcolm Robertson, Anglia News, Great Yarmouth.
A public inquiry is being held over plans to build a waste incinerator in the Essex countryside.
The controversial plans were given the go-ahead by a margin of just one vote by Essex County Council earlier in the year. But the government has said that the plans must be looked at by a planning inspector. Tom Barton has the story.
As box after box of evidence arrived, protesters gathered to mark the start of this 3-week public inquiry into plans to build a waste incinerator in mid-Essex. This is the last step in their battle against the plans, which have been on the table for several years. The planned incinerator would be built here at Rivenhall Airfield near Kelvedon in Essex. It would include the ability to recycle and even compost waste, but it's the ability to burn rubbish which has got residents so worried. They say it would pollute the local environment and bring hundreds of extra trucks to local roads. Roads which campaigners say are ill-equipped to deal with large numbers of heavy vehicles.
They don't really like the idea of lorries full of rubbish running past them with the smell and the congestion on the roads, and of course the road network around there isn't well adapted to taking in lots of other people's rubbish. I mean, this site is so large you'd be taking in rubbish from places like Hertfordshire.
It's beautiful countryside and it's already been ruined by a quarry, and to have an incinerator as well, it's not going to be very pleasant for anyone nearby.
So what are you all hoping to say to the public inquiry over the next couple of weeks?
That we don't want it. You know, we've never wanted it. We don't want it.
My name is Michael Hill. I'm a chartered engineer and I've been appointed by the Secretary of State to conduct this inquiry and report with a recommendation to her.
The inquiry got underway this morning. It'll sit for 3 weeks. Then the planning inspector will consider the evidence and make a recommendation about the project's future. Tom Barton, Anglia News at Rivenhall Airfield in Essex.
In sports, there's a full league programme tonight for the region's clubs. In the Championship, Peterborough host bottom place Plymouth, while Ipswich look for that elusive first league win at Sheffield United, with manager Roy Keane well aware of the pressures he's under.
We know there's frustration building. We sense that with obviously the supporters. I live in the real world. The bottom line is, if results don't improve, then I'm sure there'll be changes, and that's football. That's, you know, I'm not frightened of that.
Well, there's London opposition for all three of our clubs in League One. Southend visit Brentford, Colchester host Charlton, while Norwich entertain Leyton Orient, knowing they'll once again be under pressure to perform at home.
We don't need any more pressure than we've got, because everyone's expecting big things of us now, and I think it is true what he's saying about sort of smaller teams coming, that it's sort of their cup final in a way, so they're all up for it, and we just got to be able to match that and obviously better it if we're playing at home and get the win.
A 7-year-old artist from Norfolk has sold one of his paintings in a top London gallery. Kieran Williamson, we featured him on the programme from Holt, has been hailed as an emerging talent by critics. Well, at the weekend, one of his pieces was sold for an astonishing £6,000.